Hello, everyone. This is Friday, June 7th. This is Kops Office Hours. I am your moderator, facilitator, Justin Santa Barbara. I work at Google. A reminder, this meeting is being recorded and will be put on the internet. Please be mindful, therefore, of our code of conduct. I am pasting a link in chat to our agenda, in case anyone didn't see it the first time. Please do put your name there, or feel free to put your name on the attendees list. And also, if you have anything, we do have a lot on the agenda today. So if you do have anything you would like to discuss that is not already on the agenda, please do add it on there so we can be sure not to forget it, because it looks like otherwise we will. Otherwise, I suggest we dive right into it. Ryan, you have a four items on, I don't know, a couple and another couple of items on the agenda. So do you want to fire us off?
Sure. Yep. So the first thing I just had was there's just a lot of outstanding PRs that just need approvals. There's a bunch with LGTMs already on them that just need final approval. So just calling that out. Also, I want to call out thank you to Justin for actually updating the YouTube channel and getting all the videos posted. That was awesome.
I will, thank you. I will do my bit on the PRs. Other people feel free to also do their bit on the PRs, but I will certainly do that. And I think that feeds into the next item. And on the YouTube channel, I had actually uploaded, I was confused by YouTube. I had uploaded them. I know kids can manage it, but apparently I can't. I had uploaded them and not set them to public. So I will hopefully be better at it, and I will practice with this video shortly after we are done. But yes, I think everyone is. I am certainly still recovering from KubeCon, and or feel like I'm still recovering. But yes, that excuse is wearing a little thin, so I will certainly get back into it. And I think that feeds into the next item, which is again yours about 112.2, Ryan.
Yeah. So we found a pretty critical bug the other day in specifically with launch templates where ENIs are not getting marked delete on termination. We ended up with like 3,000 unallocated ENIs in our account due to that bug. It's been pulled in and cherry picked into 112, 113, and 114. That said, we should probably cut 112.2 release and get that out so we don't kill people's accounts.
Sounds good.
That has nasty side effects.
And it sounds like we should also do the alphas or betas on the other two, right? 113 and 114. But it wasn't in 111, is that correct?
Yeah, we didn't have launch templates in 111, so we're good there. Yeah.
And it's not, sorry, one more question. It's not the default even in 112, correct?
Correct. You have to opt into using the launch templates.
Okay, good.
Yeah. But if you do, your account's going to fill up really fast.
Are they charged?
No, you just can't launch those. You can't launch new instances. Yeah.
I'm just trying to like quantify how bad it is. But yes, we certainly should do the new release. I was just trying to like understand how much messaging we should do. It feels like, so we do have a mechanism to force people onto the new version. We could force where you basically have to set an environment variable. I'm not sure whether this qualifies for it, but we can think about that, I guess. Force it anyway.
The other note I had on the 112 is with Canal 361, we saw some flaky behavior, and I didn't do a lot of the investigation to this one on our end, so I don't have all the details. But we ended up rolling our 112 clusters to 372, Canal 372, which has already been cherry picked into 1.13 and 1.14. Given that, we may want to just cherry pick that into the 112.2 if we do a cut. We've got a custom kops that we're using, but
I'd love to see the issue because that is we try not to do that.
There's about 4 issues on 361 that there is a 362 release, so we might just want to go to 362, not go all the way to 3.7, but there's some issues with IPv6 not setting correctly. There's some issues with the API server when the API server goes away. There's like I said, about 4 issues on 361 that were patched recently.
Okay, yeah, that's certainly worth. Thank you for bringing that up. That's certainly worth thinking about. Yeah, we should definitely get 372 into 113, 114. We should probably. It's probably coming to. I don't know if anyone has run 113 or is running 113. Kops 113. Lots of head. Yeah. So, but we should think about getting that into beta or something. But yeah, then we should look at like, I will try to look at the underlying bugs
Yep.
in Canal to figure out. A 3.6.2, great. A 3.7,
Yep.
I don't know how different they are.
Yeah. The other issue we noticed, or the other thing that made us go to right to 3.7 was we did notice that the version of Flannel that we're using with 3.6.1 is not the version that Calico is recommending with 3.6.1. We were actually ahead on Flannel, so we just moved to 3.7.2 to get that all synced back up.
Okay, that's fun.
Yeah.
All right.
We don't scratch our heads and go, yeah, let's just jump ahead.
Okay.
Yeah, so that's another that one. etcd manager. So I think there's two issues with etcd manager I think we should address. The first one, we should add a do backup command so you can manually force a backup using etcd manager control. There's no way to force that right now, and we came into a use case where we knew we were going to do some maintenance on a cluster that was potentially dangerous, and we wanted to make sure we had a current snapshot, and literally ended up sitting there and waiting for the next iteration for it to just do the snapshot. And
yes.
Luckily, it was near the top of the hour and didn't take too long, but
that's a good idea. I will, FYI, it does do backups when it is doing something risky. So for example, whenever it changes whenever it does anything, it does a backup first. But yeah, so it would be nice to not have to rely on that. Even if you end up with an extra backup, I think it's nice to not have to rely on it.
Yep. And then the other issue there is just bundling control into the Docker, just to make it easier for people to do troubleshooting and stuff when they
and should we also do a sort of GitHub release with it, because you can run it on your machine?
Yeah, I think that makes sense too.
I think at KubeCon we found an issue where restore, we had a repeat of the one where you had, Ryan, where restore just doesn't seem to work as you would expect it to. It needs some like restarts, which it shouldn't do. So I was going to look at that. I'm going to write that on the list also to do. Also look at why restore needs cajoling, I think is the way to express it. Cool. Yeah, that would be good. All right, lots to do. That's good. And then looks like you have one more item, Ryan. Actually,
items there.
Or should we jump to Peter's, who's also talking about etcd manager, but is not here? He was asking, should we delete the now unused etcd Route 53 records after migrating to etcd manager? So when we move to etcd manager, we no longer publish the DNS records. There's no real value in having them, and it just sort of seems like we try to lock it down anyway. Peter says Protocube does delete them, and then they are later recreated with values of our placeholder value, which I think is kops doing that. I assume it's kops doing that. And yes, I think we should stop doing that. I think that is a good thing to stop.
I agree.
It will also make people happier, because then we won't have that weird placeholder IP. We did that placeholder IP to avoid negative DNS caching. But yeah, and we're still going to do it, I presume, for people exposing API server without using an ELB, but it would be one step closer to getting rid of what is honestly a hack. So yeah, we should do that. If anyone wants to, it shouldn't be too bad, I don't think, but yeah, please, if anyone wants to, feel free. Otherwise, I will try to get to it. All right, Ryan, back to you, I guess. Where do we jump to? Back to any conflict with add flags or something?
Oh, yeah, there's one of our teammates opened this. It's just a PR to add in an additional flag to the API server. I'm not familiar enough with the admission.go code, and I just noticed we're also modifying that flag in there, and I just wanted somebody else to take a look at that that's more familiar with the code. So
yeah, so this is exposing a flag which needs a file. So I presume you're doing something which you probably shouldn't be doing, like using a daemon set or a hook to put the file there.
We're using the file assets in kops to add it to the map.
That's not terrible. Okay. But that's why that flag isn't mapped, because, okay, I'll have a look at this. We should, yeah, certainly the conflict, whether maybe we should expose it. I'm not sure what admission control, what does this flag do?
it just tells the API server to load that file so you can use it for webhooks and stuff. So we're using it. So we're using OPA to do webhook validations on calls, and to enable authentication into OPA, you have to pass a token, bearer token, and this is giving the bearer token to the API server.
And it's not dynamic? You can't do it dynamically instead with a, okay. All right, well, anyway, I'll look at that. That's why that flag isn't mapped. I will, at least, yeah, the conflict is potentially challenging, but we should be okay.
Yeah.
And then, yes.
Just that there's 2 core DNS proposals out there, and then it's just, we need to probably just respond to them, give some guidance on direction. There's one for setting up core DNS with pod anti-affinity and pod disruption budgets, the concern there being large clusters and the pod anti-affinity scaling issues. And then the other one is moving it to use a daemon set, but only running on masters. And my concern there is that if we do that, we'll be limited to 3 core DNS nodes, not be able to scale that up higher. And for large clusters, that could potentially be an issue. And then the other question is, should we just include DNS horizontal autoscaler either as a plugin if we already don't, or include it in kops so that we have that in place to make DNS more stable?
These are great questions. I think the first one we had a challenge in the past. In the past we've asked people to do it upstream first. Upstream being Kubernetes, and that's where these scalability issues came to the fore. Yeah. We can have another look at that, I guess. And yeah, and then the other one I'd throw in here is the node local DNS agent, which is really cool. It's a daemon set. Also consider node local DNS. It's a daemon set that runs on every node, obviously, but it sort of acts as a caching proxy. It solves a lot of issues that are observed more frequently on AWS, should we say, and also then takes a ton of load off the sort of core DNS or kubeDNS servers themselves. It is core DNS, but yeah, I think that might also help.
Yeah, we hit an issue recently where both of our core DNS pods were termed at the exact same time due to node scaling, and we ended up rolling out the DNS horizontal autoscaler to give us some more buffer on that. But
were they on the same node?
Yes, they got scheduled on the same node somehow, just out of freak. And
yeah, I guess the pod disruption budget would be a good one there. That would help because we are draining on a rolling update, I believe. Yep. So yeah, I think so. So I think we would therefore respect pod disruption budget. But yeah, and I think pod disruption budget.
The cloud autoscaler can shut down 2 nodes at the same time, right?
Pardon me?
Potentially, the node autoscaler, the cluster autoscaler, can shut down 2 nodes at the same time.
It can, but it also cluster autoscaler at least also observes drain, so it will drain the workloads before shutting down the nodes. So if we had the pod disruption budget, I guess we should treat pod anti-affinity and pod disruption budget separately. If we had a pod disruption budget, it would, in theory, like drain them slowly, or delete the 2 pods slowly first before it. Both cluster autoscaler and the kops rolling update code would do that and not do them at the same time. I don't know of any downsides to pod disruption budget other than like if you sort of misconfigure it, like you get surprising behavior. Whereas pod anti-affinity, we do know about the like scalability issues.
Yeah,
pod anti-affinity ones are more on huge clusters though.
Yeah.
I don't know, like Rodrigo smiling. I don't know like how big, I don't know where they actually kick in.
Yeah, forget about me. I manage my own DNS configuration at this point.
Do you use the node local DNS, by the way?
Not yet. We're still using kubeDNS. We're still migrating to core DNS before we do anything else.
Okay. Do you have any form of local caching proxy though? Node local caching?
We do. We do some IP tables magic that we use local DNS caching. But we do use pod disruption budget, and because we've seen things fall on the same node, we also try not to schedule multiple core DNS pods on the same nodes because we've seen that cause some issues for us.
Do you use the anti-affinity stuff or something else?
Anti-affinity.
Okay.
Our clusters have been handling it mostly okay, even for their size. So
it's a pretty positive vote for that then. Okay. All right. That's good data. Thank you. All right. So yeah, we should definitely do this. I'm less convinced about, right. I think the daemon set on the master is a bigger change. And I'm inclined to that we do that when we figure out how to better support more customization of add-ons. I think Ryan, you and I need to I think we have a pending chat to figure out you had some work going on that, so we should follow up on that. But but yeah, I think the others feel more like things that are more like in the realm, and the daemons on the master feels like a very different configuration. All right, we have a couple more items on the agenda. D. Zoteman, who's on attendance, asks about inconsistency between the config base and the kops state store. What do we want to do with this? I will have a look at this. I'm hoping it's just an issue of documentation. The intention is kops state store is the location where your cluster and instance group and I guess key sets, like objects, are stored. But then if you want to, you can put your additional configuration somewhere else. So for example, in theory, and I'm pretty sure this probably doesn't work, you could have an S3 bucket as your kops state store, but still store the launch Google clusters from it by putting config base onto Google. The real use onto Google Cloud Storage. The real use case there was to have your Kubernetes, your cluster and your instance groups be in a Kubernetes cluster. So that's sort of cluster API CRDs. So this is sort of part of that, and I will have a look and see where we are exactly. Hopefully it's just documentation. I wouldn't be surprised if there's also a bug or two around it. But that's sort of the intention, that state store helps you find the root objects, as it were, and then we render some configuration needed to bring up the cluster, and that can be in a different location. So if you wanted to put your configuration in a different bucket entirely, there's a nice simpler example. If you wanted to put your if you wanted to have each cluster use its own S3 bucket, you could do that using config base in theory. Now, whether it works, I don't know. Sounds like no is the answer. But okay, I will have a look at that. And the next one was about the Route 53, which we talked about before. And then Peter, who I'm guessing is still not in attendance, is it possible to test multiple cluster configurations in our E2E tests, and in particular motivated by our launch templates? The answer is yes. It's relatively straightforward to set up different configurations. And so I think we do have a configuration for, like, for example, testing Calico or different network plugins that are not the default. These jobs are maintained in the Kubernetes test info repo, which I will drop a link to. I'm going to try to find the actual URL, but I'll drop a link into it, and then I'll make it more specific than embedded. Jobs are maintained here. So it's fairly easy to do that. The other thing that we have is the ability to, which would have called this launch template thing. We can do, they're not E2E tests, but we can run unit tests with a sort of fake Amazon account, or not a fake Amazon account, a mocked Amazon interface, and we can verify that nothing is leaked. So one of the things we could do is we could write a unit test that actually goes and basically it simulates badly, like describe instances and run instances and all of those things, and sort of just checks that like a kops create followed by a kops create does some stuff, a kops update with an unchanged configuration doesn't change anything, and then a kops delete undoes everything that the kops create did. So there's nothing leaked effectively. That would be a nice test that would catch this particular issue. We tend to use sort of both strategies. So it's nice to have the unit test to like make sure that nothing leaks, and that updates are sort of idempotent. And then it's also nice to have an EDE test to make sure that actually in practice everything works, because the unit tests only simulate a sort of very narrow sliver of the functionality. Like we only like mock the EC2 APIs to like effectively do CRUD, but we don't do any like deep validation of anything. And another item is being added to the agenda as we speak, which is great. Adam, I don't know if you're Adam. Hey.
Yeah, I'll see if I can start my video. Sorry, I'm at home today. Yeah, so this is my first office hours. Hi,
Welcome.
representing Zendesk, and we're currently sort of like in the migration from our home-spun Kubernetes clusters to kops, and I think we're currently looking at around kops 1.12. So just wanting to get involved in the community. Not sure if this is the right level for some of these questions, but I'll just put them out there, seeing as I'm assuming we've got the time.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
Yes.
So the first one was from my colleague. So in our previous cluster, we relied on auto-scaling group lifecycle hooks a lot to make sure that, you know, if an instance got terminated or killed, we would still be able to drain safely. And it seems that at least that part isn't supported by kops. Doing a rolling update still makes sure that the draining happens correctly. But if, say, AWS says your instance is going to terminate in 30 minutes, that still is not done safely. And I guess the question is, would that be feasible to add to kops? Is that something that people are interested in, or is there a different solution we don't know about for handling that?
I don't believe there is a different solution. I think it would be a great contribution. I don't know if anyone has any approaches that they've used so far.
We use the termination script, but yeah, that's the attribute.
As in, like, there's an existing termination script, sorry, or this is a custom one?
It's a custom one we built over.
Okay, great.
But yeah, that would be wonderful. I think, as you say, the hard bit is hooking it up, but we could start off with whatever the easiest one is, which looks like the termination script, I'm guessing, and then like do the more complicated ones.
Yep. Okay. And there was two other items I had on here. I heard that you mentioned customization of add-ons, and that's a story that's not fully developed yet. I'm just wondering if there's any more links to that or discussions around that I could sort of take a look at.
So we have in the cluster, the current model for add-ons is everything is baked into kops. In the cluster object, there are little blocks where we can, in theory, add fields that can then allow customization of those add-ons that are baked into kops. Ryan, who's on the call, is fixing an issue where we weren't necessarily correctly updating those. Like when you changed we weren't necessarily updating when you changed all the options. So that's going to get fixed. There's a bigger issue, which is, in general, like it's sort of not very scalable to imagine that every add-on is going to have to be updated and require a kops update, and every customization is going to require a change in kops and a new release of kops. That isn't a great model. There is some work going on in a subproject of C cluster lifecycle to sort of look at operators for doing this. In kops itself, we're trying to solve the first problem of like when a new version of, what was it today? It was Canal. When a new version of Canal comes out, it would be great to be able to release a 3.6.2 without having to release a version of kops. And we have this, the channel file, which lets us sort of update images, but it doesn't, and lets us update the recommended Kubernetes version, but doesn't yet have add-ons. So basically moving that into moving the specification of add-ons out of the compiled kops code into an external location that can be independently updated would be good. I think we actually have a PR that starts that journey. The other half is, suppose Zendesk says they want to run Canal with more memory, right?
Yeah, so that's actually exactly what we want to do, not with Canal, but for example, core DNS. And I'll admit it's a complete hack at the moment, but we actually like get the bootstrap channel file that's in S3 and override it with our own content. And if kops upstream can actually support doing that the proper way, yeah, that would be ideal for us.
Yeah, so we can, for something as common or reasonable as changing the memory on core DNS, that's something where we could just map a field. And probably we should actually do that for the use cases that people really have. We do want to get to a world where, however unusual your requirement is, it will work as well. And that's sort of the idea. One of the things we're looking at but haven't really developed yet is customized patches, or basically declarative patches. They would let you change anything you wanted to. If we put those in operators, you can change it on the cluster itself. But we can probably also do something in the kops CLI. That world is what the sub-project is sort of looking at, trying to understand how to do that, how to specify the canonical set of add-ons, and then how to enable anyone to change that configuration in a way that, in theory, would work across all the tools, and could be used in your, you had a proprietary solution. You had a proprietary solution. I don't know if you can still hear me. I just kicked my cable out. You had a proprietary solution, and what you could, in theory, have used that open source approach, community approach, in your proprietary solution as well. But that's sort of where we are. I don't know if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. I
looked at that work in progress PR in, and one thing to call out for core DNS, we do have support in kops now for setting memory and CPU. So that is.
So one of the big things that we're actually looking to do is, I think, similar to the discussion before, is we're trying to run core DNS as a daemon set everywhere. So not just on the master nodes, but on all nodes. And we also have a couple of annotations to get, Prometheus metrics to get pulled in automatically, and some other stuff that I'd imagine would be specific to our particular use case, not necessarily generally applicable.
They're both, okay, so the Prometheus metrics is one that, again, feels like something that has two attributes. One of them is that everyone might want to use it, and the other one of which is that it's quite hard. It's not easy to change, right? It's sort of a little bit fiddly to set those annotations correctly, is my understanding. I don't know if there's a flag as well.
I should clarify, this is Datadog annotations to pull in the Prometheus metrics.
Okay.
Not necessarily actually Prometheus.
Okay. But there's certainly a class of changes where we would want to build them as fields, and ideally we are able to do that in a way that, I guess the idea of operators is that we could then define those sort of standard fields in a way that could be shared across all the installation tooling. But yes, we're still a ways away from that. For the daemon set approach, there is an existing approach in Kubernetes KK called the node local daemon set, which runs an instance of core DNS in a caching as a pure cache. I don't know if that's what you were talking about, or whether you're actually talking about running core DNS itself as a daemon set.
We run core DNS itself as a daemon set, both to do caching and forwarding of requests to console. So we use console for service discovery as well as.
Okay, it's with a different suffix.
Yeah, so it's got a .console domains, then map to a console daemon set on the same host and stuff like that.
Very cool. Yeah. I think that's more. Maybe we should have a way to do the daemon set configurations, similar to that PR in the middle of 6797, which of the list above. It's certainly getting into the trickier territory where we want to allow more customizations. I don't have a great answer for how we should do that today.
No, that's fine. I just wanted to bring it up to make sure the community is aware of these challenges.
Yeah.
And then going on to the third last one that's sort of been kicking back in my mind for a while. So digging through the source code, I see that there's a lot of there's some separation between the key store and VFS implementation. But it looks like there is also a lot of tying together. such that, you know, the key store essentially has to live in the same S3 bucket or whatever VFS store you're using as the rest of the config. And ideally, we would actually like to use something external like a Vault or something like that. And just wondering, you know, is that feasible to, you know, try and go down that path, or is that like the wrong design approach to be taking?
It's certainly feasible to try. I think you do need key. I don't know if people have done this. You do need the CA or a CA key on Kube Controller Manager to sign service accounts and to sign kubelet bootstrap tokens if you're using those. I think it's still possible to do. It would be great to, if you wanted to have a go, that would be wonderful. I'm happy to like try to give pointers. It's probably the best way to discuss that is to like open an issue and like tag me on it, Justin SB, and let people chip in their understandings. In theory, like it shouldn't be too hard to have a separate key store that is like in a different location. The challenge is, it turns out that you need you need the CA key anyway, so it's not quite as secure as you might want. And you basically need to like pass a lot of things back and forth. The only thing we actually need on the client side, we generate all the keys client side in kops. The only reason we actually need that is sort of for coordination, and in other words, like how do the keys get onto all the machines? But that actually could be, you could do that other ways. And then like if you had a Vault, the other one we need is just to build a kube config for you. That uses a key, I believe. And so we do need the key for that, but I think it's definitely feasible. I think it's not as trivial as like not putting the 203.113 IP addresses in there, but it's certainly, it's definitely, a lot of the mechanics should be there for the work that went into like using CRDs, which is an ongoing work, but it's the separation. I think.
Sorry, I think I just tapped my microphone there for a second.
Yeah, so if you wanted to try, I think that'd be great. Yeah, Vault. This would be Vault, and Vault is your use case, right?
Yeah, primarily. This is HashiCorp Vault, which we've used internally for a long time, and in fact, our current Chef clusters are using that. But yeah, migrating to kops, it seems like that's probably not going to be an option, at least for the immediate future. And just sort of investigating, you know, if we wanted to go down that path, you know, how much effort would it be, and would it even be possible?
So yeah, it would be. It shouldn't be too hard to plug in Vault as a different backend. I think the gotcha is the machines do need some of that PKI material, and currently we render it to the same S3 bucket. If you're cool with that, it should be fairly straightforward. If you want to have the machines themselves sourced from Vault, which I presume is more what you want, it's not the end of the world in that we do have an agent that runs on on every node, which actually goes and copies those keys from S3 or wherever you're storing them. And you would just have to teach that agent how to pull from Vault, which doesn't sound, it's not impossible, but it's certainly not trivial.
Yeah, thank you.
Actually, you know what you could do? If you wanted to pursue this, I would start by doing teach kops command line to interact with Vault, but then dump the keys into an S3 bucket. And then that's step one. And then step two is don't dump them into the S3 bucket, but teach NodeUp, the agent, how to fetch them direct from Vault if it's supposed to. So it's sort of that would be a path to achieving that. And it'll be a good thing because also we like it'd be nice to have KMS integration so that we encrypted all the keys in S3. Encrypted the keys in S3 with a KMS key.
Yeah, I think that was another option. This was primarily coming from our security folk, just looking at the architecture. So yeah, I think KMS was another one that was listed as an option.
Yeah, definitely open an issue and we can like figure it out. And particularly if there are security requirements, it's always good to hear like the differing security requirements that everyone has, and like it makes us all better. And like we are trying to get kops to be entirely secure by default. It is a ongoing journey, but we are making progress. I guess with that, we have reached the end of the agenda. I don't know if anyone else wants to add anything or bring anything up. All right. Well, it looks like I have a lot of things to work on, and yeah, please, thank you for everyone's contributions, and please feel free to send PRs, review PRs, send issues, open issues, and thanks to Ryan as well for all the details, and thank you to everyone. And I will try to do a release. I will try to get some PRs merged and do a release of 1.12.2 and likely a 1.13. I think we did a beta, so I'm guessing. But anyway, whatever the next beta or alpha in the chain is, and probably a 1.14 alpha as well.
The cherry pick sheet is up to date also.
Yay! Thank you. The spreadsheet. Oh yeah, we didn't even show the spreadsheet today, but also.
Yep.
All right. Well, I wish everyone a very happy weekend, and see you all in 2 weeks.
Hey Justin, do you have time can you find some time on your calendar to talk about that add-on?
Do you want to talk now?
Yeah, we can do it now if you want.
Okay, cool. Let me stop recording and yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Thank you, everyone.